Lyra had always loved stories. From the time she could remember, she would sit in her small room in the Academy of Knowledge and read tales of distant worlds, ancient warriors, and legendary battles. But there was one story that fascinated her above all others: the story of humans. The humans were said to be incredible warriors, capable of feats no other species could match. They could survive harsh climates, adapt to any technology, and fight with unmatched courage. But everyone around her called them myths, extinct, legends, nothing more than old tales recorded in damaged scrolls and holographic archives. Lyra did not believe them. There was something in the way the stories were told, the way the texts described humans with awe and fear, that told her they had been real. Humans were not ordinary, they were extraordinary. And if they were really gone, she wanted proof, anything that could tell her the truth. The Academy did not approve of digging into forbidden zones, but Lyra's curiosity was stronger than any rule. She had spent months studying old maps, decoding symbols and following hints left in ancient texts. One evening, under the pale glow of the twin moons, she snuck out to the far side of the valley, where the sand and rocks hid secrets older than any living being. The ground here was strange. The soil hummed faintly, as if it carried the memory of something long past. Lyra knelt, brushing the sand away carefully with her hands, revealing metal fragments that shone in the moonlight. Her heart raced. She had found something. It was a blade, long, slender, and perfectly preserved. The hilt was engraved with symbols she could not recognize, but the craftsmanship was exquisite. She had read about human weapons in texts, but seeing one in reality was different. It was alive with history. She could almost feel the power that had once moved through it. Suddenly, a rustling sound made her freeze. Someone or something was watching her. She spun around, expecting a guard, but saw nothing. The desert was silent, save for the wind brushing over the dunes. She shook her head. It was just her imagination. Lyra returned her attention to the blade, lifting it carefully. The metal was cool, almost humming in her hands. As she studied it, a strange feeling washed over her. A shiver ran down her spine. This was more than just a weapon. It carried energy, life. She did not know how, but she knew it was waiting for someone, for the right person to awaken it. Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden flash of light. The desert shimmered, and before her eyes a figure appeared. Tall, muscular, and moving with speed that seemed unnatural, the human warrior stood there, holding another blade that gleamed like silver under the moonlight. His eyes were sharp and intelligent, scanning the area with caution. Lyra's breath caught. She had never seen a human before. This could not be real. Humans were extinct, or so everyone said. And yet here he was, standing in front of her, alive. Who are you? She whispered, her voice trembling. The human did not answer immediately. He studied her with careful eyes, measuring her not as a threat but as an observer. Finally, he spoke in a voice that was calm but firm. I am Kale, and you should not be here. Lyra's curiosity overcame her fear. You're real, she stammered. Humans, they are real? Kale did not respond with words. Instead, he moved with sudden speed, drawing his blade in a smooth, practiced motion, slicing through the air as if to warn her. Lyra stumbled backward, her heart racing. She had read about human warriors, but seeing one in action was terrifying and awe-inspiring all at once. The precision, the power, the focus. It was unlike anything she had ever imagined. The desert night suddenly felt alive with tension. Every grain of sand seemed to vibrate with energy. Lyra realized that she was holding the human blade she had uncovered, the one she had thought was an ancient artifact. She had activated something without knowing it. Kale's eyes softened slightly when he noticed the blade in her hands. He lowered his own weapon just a fraction. His stance relaxed but still alert. He spoke again, this time with a note of caution. That blade, it calls to its owner. You should not touch it if you do not know how to wield it. Lyra felt a mixture of fear and fascination. I didn't know. I just found it. Kale studied her carefully. He seemed to understand her intent, seeing the curiosity and respect in her eyes. Curiosity is dangerous, but it can also be the beginning of understanding. You have something rare, Lyra. You see the truth when others see only myth. Lyra froze. How did he know her name? Her voice faltered. You know my name? Kale nodded. I have been observing. I know much about this place and its people. But you must leave now. They will come for you if they find you here. Lyra shook her head, gripping the blade tightly. I cannot leave. Not yet, I need to know. I need to see for myself. Humans are not myths, are they? Kale gave her a faint, almost amused smile. No, we are not myths, but believing in us is only the beginning. Seeing the truth, that is far more dangerous. Before Lyra could respond, a sharp sound echoed across the valley. Alien patrols were approaching, their armored walkers sending shadows across the dunes. Kale's posture shifted instantly from calm to alert. Every movement was precise, controlled. He moved closer to Lyra. Come with me, he said. You cannot face them alone. Lyra hesitated for only a moment. Her fascination outweighed her fear. She grabbed Kale's hand, feeling the strength in his grip, and followed him into the shadows. The patrols moved closer, their lights scanning the dunes, but Kale was faster, almost like he was dancing between the beams of light. As they ran, Lyra noticed the way Kale moved, every step calculated, every movement efficient. She realized that humans, if trained, were unlike any other species she had studied. They were adaptable, clever, and fearless. And if the legends were true, they were also capable of heroics that no machine or weapon could match. They reached a small cave hidden behind a rock formation. Kale entered first, pulling Lyra inside. The cave was cool and dark, a stark contrast to the blinding moonlight outside. Kale finally allowed himself to relax slightly, leaning against the wall. You are lucky, he said, catching his breath. Many have tried to find us, but few survive. Lyra stared at him, her mind racing. Why are you here? Why are humans hiding? Kale's eyes darkened. We survived when others could not. We learned to adapt, to fight when necessary, to hide when necessary. There are those who would destroy us if they knew we were real. Lyra felt a shiver. The truth was bigger than she had imagined. Humans were not extinct, not myths. They were legends living in shadows, waiting for the right moment to return. And she had stumbled into that moment. For the first time in her life, Lyra realized that the world was far larger and far more dangerous than her books had ever described. But more than that, she realized that it was far more wonderful too. Humans were real, and she was about to see what legends could do. The cave grew silent except for the soft hum of the artifact blade in her hands. Lyra looked at Kale, and for the first time she felt something she had never felt before. Hope. Not just hope for herself, but hope for a future where humans, thought lost to time, might return to shape the galaxy once again. And so, the night began. Lyra's journey into the truth of human warriors had started. Not with a battle, not with a war, but with a single simple question. Could legends be real? And in front of her, Kale drew his blade, and she knew the answer. The cave was quiet except for the faint echo of wind against the rocks. Lyra's heart still raced from the chase across the desert, and she struggled to catch her breath. Kale stood a few steps away, leaning against the wall, his silver blade glinting faintly under the moonlight streaming through the cave entrance. Lyra could not take her eyes off him. Humans were nothing like the aliens she had known all her life. They were taller, stronger, and somehow sharper, as if every motion was guided by a mix of instinct and intelligence that she had never seen before. The way he had moved through the patrol's beams of light, it was almost like watching a shadow dance. Kale finally broke the silence. You need to answer my questions, he said, his voice calm but commanding. Why did you come here? Lyra swallowed nervously. I've studied humans my entire life. I thought they were legends, myths. I didn't believe they were real, but I found the blade. And then I saw you. I had to know the truth. Kale's eyes softened slightly. Curiosity is dangerous, but it is also what keeps humans alive. Lyra tilted her head.
Keeps you alive?
What do you mean? Kale gestured toward the entrance. They would have killed us if they had found us tonight. Humans are rare now in some species, some governments. They fear us. They do not understand us. That is why we hide and why we survive. Lyra's mind whirled. Survive? You mean humans are not extinct? Kale nodded. We are not extinct. Not all of us, but we are few and we must be careful. You, however, are different. You are curious, brave, and you have the blade. That makes you important. Lyra felt a mix of awe and fear. She had expected stories, maybe even legends coming to life, but she had not expected a human warrior to tell her that she, an alien scholar, might play a part in human survival. Before she could speak, Kale moved suddenly. He held his blade in front of him, scanning the cave entrance. Lyra's eyes widened. What is it? Aliens are coming, he said. They sensed movement. "We need to leave now." Lyra followed him as they exited the cave. The desert night was quiet again, but the distant hum of engines warned that patrols were nearby. Kale led her through hidden paths, moving with grace and confidence, his senses alert to every sound, every shadow. As they ran, Lyra asked, "Why are you so strong? So fast, your reflexes?" Kale glanced at her. "We train. Humans have always trained. Our strength comes from our minds and our bodies working together. Survival is not just about fighting. It is about thinking faster, adapting faster, moving faster. That is why humans have always been feared." Lyra listened, amazed. She had read about human warriors, but nothing could prepare her for this. Kale's words were not boastful. They were matter-of-fact, a quiet confidence built from experience. They reached a small ridge overlooking a hidden valley. Kale paused, scanning the area. "They will search for you," he said. "But if you are smart, you will hide with me. There is a place where humans have stayed hidden from the world. Few have seen it." Lyra's curiosity burned brighter than fear. "A place where humans stay?" "Yes," Kale replied. "You will see soon enough. But first you must trust me." Trust was not easy for Lyra. Her entire life she had studied humans from afar, imagining what they might be like, but never interacting with one. And now here was Kale, asking her to follow him into the unknown, to trust someone who could fight and survive in ways she could barely imagine. "I trust you," she said finally, gripping the human blade she had found. It hummed faintly in her hands as if recognizing her determination. Kyle gave a small nod. "Good. Then follow me." The journey was not easy. They traveled for hours through narrow canyons, avoiding patrols and using hidden paths Kyle seemed to know instinctively. Every now and then, Lyra caught glimpses of his agility and skill in action. Once a boulder threatened to fall, and Kale leapt forward, pushing her out of the way with incredible speed. Another time they encountered a wild creature native to the desert, and Kale disarmed it before it could attack. Lyra's respect grew with every step. Humans were not just strong, they were aware, intelligent, and fearless in a way that made everything she had learned about combat and survival seem small in comparison. Finally, as dawn began to break, they reached the entrance to a hidden canyon, shielded by overhanging rocks and natural formations. Kale gestured for her to enter first. The interior was unlike anything Lyra had ever seen. Small shelters built from materials that blended perfectly with the environment were scattered across the canyon floor, and there, moving with careful precision, were other humans. Lyra's mouth went dry. She had expected one human, maybe two, but dozens were here, training, repairing equipment, and preparing for something she could not yet understand. Kale led her deeper into the canyon. "These are humans like me," he said quietly. "Some have been hiding for years, some decades. Few ever leave, and few ever survive encounters with those who fear us." Lyra looked around, her eyes wide with awe. She saw children being trained in basic survival skills, adults practicing combat techniques, and elders teaching strategy and history. This was a hidden world, a living testament to human resilience and ingenuity. One of the humans, a woman with silver hair and piercing eyes, approached them. "Kale," she said, nodding respectfully. "Who is this?" Kale turned to Lyra. "This is Lyra," he said. "She found the artifact and followed the truth. She is curious, intelligent, and brave. I believe she can help us." The woman studied Lyra carefully. "Curiosity is valuable," she said finally, "but so is caution. She will need training." Lyra's heart raced. Training? She had never held a weapon like Kale's blade, never fought, never survived in the wilderness. Yet seeing the humans here, seeing their strength and unity, she felt something stir inside her. She wanted to be part of this world, to learn, to survive, to see the truth of humans firsthand. Kale handed her a small training sword, lighter than the artifacts she had found but similar in design. "We will start slowly," he said. "Learning control, balance, and awareness. Fighting is more than strength. It is understanding your own abilities and the world around you." Lyra nodded, gripping the sword. She felt the weight, not heavy but significant, like holding a part of history in her hands. She remembered the stories she had read, the tales of human warriors defeating impossible odds. Now she would see it for herself. The first lesson was simple but challenging. Kale moved around her, striking and parrying with incredible speed. Lyra tried to mimic his movements, but she stumbled, her strikes slow and uncoordinated. Kale corrected her gently, showing her how to move with precision, how to anticipate, and how to remain calm under pressure. Hours passed. Lyra's muscles ached, but she felt herself improving with every attempt. Kale's guidance was patient but firm. He explained not just the mechanics of fighting, but the philosophy behind it: human resilience, adaptability, and courage. By the end of the day, Lyra had learned more than she ever thought possible. She understood that humans were not just physically strong. They were aware, disciplined, and creative. Their strength came from knowledge, from thinking ahead, from understanding the world and using it to their advantage. As the sun set, painting the canyon in shades of gold and orange, Kale looked at her and nodded. "You have potential," he said. "Curiosity brought you here, but determination will keep you alive. And one day you may see why humans are not just legends, they are a force to be reckoned with." Lyra felt a surge of pride and excitement. She had begun to see the truth of humans, not as stories or myths, but as real beings with incredible abilities, and she had taken her first step into a world that few outsiders had ever seen. That night, as she lay under the stars in a small shelter beside Kale, Lyra could not stop thinking about what she had seen. The humans in the canyon were real, powerful, and disciplined, and she had a chance to be part of their world, to learn from them, and to witness what legends could do. For the first time, she understood something she had never grasped before. Humans were not only warriors, they were survivors, thinkers, and dreamers. And the journey ahead, she realized, would change her life forever. The canyon had settled into quiet after the day's training, but Lyra's mind was anything but calm. She could not stop thinking about the humans she had seen, their skill, and the hidden world Kale had revealed. Each moment she spent with them, she felt a mixture of awe, fear, and curiosity. She wanted to understand, to learn, to belong, but she also knew that danger was never far away. Kyle had warned her that patience and observation were as important as skill and survival, and now she would test both. Early the next morning, Kyle called her to the training grounds. The other humans were already there, practicing in small groups. Some were young, some older, but all moved with focus and precision. Their weapons, whether swords, spears, or training tools, seemed like extensions of their bodies. Lyra felt nervous as she stepped forward, holding the sword Kale had given her. "Today," Kale said, "you will learn something important. Humans survive not only by fighting, they survive by thinking. Strategy, awareness, and trust are as vital as strength." He led her to a small area marked with stones and logs, setting up a training scenario. "You are not just fighting against me," he explained. "You are observing. You are learning. Pay attention to your surroundings, your opponent, and yourself." Lyra nodded. She had never realized how much went into being a warrior. It was not enough to swing a sword. One had to anticipate movements, predict attacks, and remain calm under pressure. Kale demonstrated first, moving fluidly, striking at precise angles and stopping just short of hitting. He turned to her. "Your turn." Lyra raised her sword, trying to mimic his motions. Her strikes were clumsy at first, and Kyle easily parried each one. But he did not scold her. Instead, he guided her stance, corrected her grip, and showed her how to shift her weight to maintain balance. Slowly, she began to move more confidently. Hours passed. Sweat dripped from her forehead, her arms ached, and her muscles protested. But with each correction, she improved. Kale's patience and encouragement pushed her beyond what she thought possible. By midday, she could anticipate some of his moves, parry effectively, and strike with purpose. "Good," Kale said, finally lowering his sword. "You are learning. But remember, combat is only part of survival. Humans succeed because we think ahead, we adapt, and we trust those we fight alongside." Lyra listened intently. She had seen humans in stories fight alone and win, but here Kale emphasized teamwork and trust. It was a lesson she did not fully understand yet, but she would. Their training was interrupted by a sudden alert. A young human scout ran into the area, breathless. "Kale, Lyra! Patrols are moving closer to the canyon. They are searching the outer paths." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Good. This is what you need to see." He gestured for Lyra to follow him. "We cannot fight them yet, but we can observe, learn, and prepare." They moved to a high ridge overlooking the canyon's entrance. From this vantage point, Lyra could see the patrols, armored walkers and soldiers moving with systematic precision. They were scanning the terrain, looking for any sign of human activity. Lyra swallowed. The patrols were powerful, but Kale remained calm. Notice how they move, he said quietly. Notice their patterns, the spaces between them, their blind spots. Humans can survive against stronger enemies by thinking and moving carefully. He demonstrated. With almost supernatural speed, Kale slid down the ridge using rocks and shadows for cover. Lyra followed, trying to imitate his movements, stumbling at first but improving with each step. Kale moved like a shadow, striking and disabling traps left by the patrols without ever being seen. Lyra felt awe and fear at the same time. He was faster, smarter, and more precise than anything she could have imagined. By the time the patrols left the area, Lyra's respect for Kale had deepened. Humans were not just legends. They were survivors, thinkers, and fighters combined into one. And Kale was living proof of that truth. After the patrols disappeared, Kale led Lyra back to the training grounds. "Today was your first lesson in observation under pressure," he said. "Combat is not always direct. Often survival depends on knowing when to act and when to wait. Humans have learned this through centuries of trial and error." Lyra nodded, exhausted but inspired. She realized that her training was only beginning. There was so much to learn, not just about fighting but about thinking, strategy, and trust, and Kale was willing to teach her. Over the next several days, Lyra's routine settled into a balance of training, observation, and learning. Kale pushed her to her limits, not just physically but mentally. He taught her how to read opponents' movements, how to anticipate attacks, and how to remain calm under pressure. But training was not the only challenge. Lyra soon discovered that trust was perhaps the hardest lesson of all. Some humans were wary of her, uncertain if she could be trusted. They had seen outsiders betray or endanger them before, and their caution was understandable. Lyra realized that proving her loyalty would not be easy. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Kyle took her aside. "Lyra," he said, "if you want to survive here, you must understand that trust is earned. You cannot simply say you are loyal, you must show it through your actions." Lyra nodded. "I understand, but how do I do that?" "By learning, by observing, by helping, and by never hesitating when your actions can protect others," Kyle explained. "Humans survive together, and if you wish to be part of this, you must do the same." Lyra spent the night thinking about his words. She remembered the humans she had seen training, the coordination, the discipline, the way they worked as a unit. She realized that humans were not only powerful individually, they were unstoppable when united. The next day brought a test. Kale gathered a small group of humans and set up a simulation, a mock patrol approaching their hidden canyon. Lyra was tasked with leading a small team, using her knowledge of the terrain and the humans' techniques. Her heart pounded. She had never led anyone before, never made decisions that could affect survival, but Kale's teachings guided her. She instructed her team to use cover, move silently, and anticipate the patrol's movements. She corrected mistakes, encouraged her team, and made quick decisions when unexpected obstacles appeared. The simulation was intense. Lyra felt adrenaline rush through her veins as she dodged imaginary attacks, repositioned her team, and adjusted plans on the fly. Kale watched silently, observing her every move. When the simulation ended, Kale approached her. "You did well," he said. "You adapted, you led, and you thought ahead. That is how humans survive. Not through raw strength alone, but through intelligence, strategy, and teamwork." Lyra felt a surge of pride. She had taken her first real step into the world of human warriors. But she also knew that this was only the beginning. The real challenges, the real battles were yet to come. Later, as she rested near the edge of the canyon, Kyle sat beside her. "You are improving faster than I expected," he said. "But you must remember, this world is not kind. There are those who will not wait for you to be ready. Survival demands speed, adaptability, and courage." Lyra looked out over the desert, the sun casting long shadows across the dunes. "I understand," she said. "I want to learn. I want to be ready." Kale nodded. "Good. Humans are not legends because we are invincible. We are legends because we adapt, we survive, and we fight when necessary. And now you are beginning to understand that." As night fell over the canyon, Lyra lay beneath the stars, reflecting on the days she had spent with Kale and the other humans. She had learned about strength, strategy, and trust. She had faced challenges that tested her mind and body. And most importantly, she had begun to see the truth. Humans were not myths. They were alive, powerful, and extraordinary. Her journey was far from over. The lessons would become harder, the dangers greater and the decisions more critical, but Lyra felt ready to face them. She had taken her first steps into a world where humans were not only legends, they were the standard of courage, skill, and resilience. And as she drifted off to sleep under the vast desert sky, Lyra knew one thing for certain: she would never see the galaxy the same way again. Humans were real, humans were extraordinary, and humans were just beginning to show her what it truly meant to be a warrior. The hidden canyon was quiet at first, but the calm was deceptive. Lyra had been training and observing humans for weeks now, learning their movements, their strategies, and their discipline. She was improving, but Kale had warned her that knowledge alone would not prepare her for what was coming. The morning began with an unusual tension. Kale gathered the humans near the canyon entrance, his expression serious. "They have found a way closer to us," he said. "The Alien Council is sending patrols stronger and smarter than ever before. They are testing our defenses. Today you will see why humans survive." Lyra felt her stomach tighten. The other humans, seasoned fighters, nodded with determination. This was not a drill. This was real. Kale led them to a ridge overlooking the canyon's outer paths. From there, they could see armored walkers advancing, scanning for any sign of movement. The patrols were larger than before, moving in organized formations. Lyra's breath caught. They were powerful, far more than she had imagined. Kale crouched beside her. "Observe," he said. "Humans do not fight blindly. We use knowledge, terrain, and coordination. Watch carefully, Lyra." Then Kale moved. His actions were fluid, precise, and almost impossible to follow. He signaled the humans in the canyon, and they responded instantly, taking positions in strategic locations. Some climbed rocks to gain height, others hid behind natural cover, all moving with perfect timing. Lyra was stunned. The humans in the canyon did not panic. They did not charge blindly. They adapted. Every movement had a purpose. Every position was chosen to give them an advantage. The first wave of alien patrols entered the canyon, unaware of the humans' hidden positions. Kale and the others acted. Using simple but effective tools, the humans disabled machinery, created distractions, and forced the patrols into confusion. Lyra watched, amazed, as humans used their environment like a weapon, turning rocks, shadows, and narrow pathways into strategic advantages. One patrol approached a narrow ridge where Lyra and Kale were hiding. Kale whispered, "Follow my lead." He moved with incredible speed, leaping down and using precise strikes to disable the patrol's sensors. Lyra mimicked his movements, her own training paying off as she moved carefully but decisively. The aliens never noticed them. Hours passed, and the canyon became a battlefield of strategy rather than brute force. Lyra saw humans communicate with subtle gestures, signals that coordinated entire squads without words. She realized that this was the true power of humans: teamwork, intelligence, and adaptability. Alone, they could be strong. Together, they were unstoppable. Kale called her over to a small ridge. "You have learned much, but now you must participate directly. Observe, then act. Remember your training." Lyra's heart pounded. This was her first real test under fire. She gripped the sword Kale had given her, sweat running down her brow. She followed Kale's lead as they moved toward a group of approaching patrols. The humans split into teams. Lyra's team was tasked with disabling a mechanical walker before it reached the canyon's center. They moved quietly, using shadows and cover to approach. Lyra's mind raced, remembering Kale's lessons: observe, adapt, anticipate. The walker was massive, its sensors scanning in all directions. Lyra froze for a moment, her hands trembling. Then she remembered Kale's words. Humans survive by thinking faster and acting decisively. She signaled her team, and they moved in unison. Using a combination of tools and precise strikes, they disabled the walker's movement and sensors. Lyra felt a surge of confidence as the machine went down without a single shot fired. She had contributed, and her actions had mattered. Kale watched from a distance, a faint smile on his face. "Good," he whispered. "You are learning not only skill but strategy. That is what makes humans extraordinary." The battle continued. The patrols adapted, but the humans anticipated their moves. Lyra moved alongside Kale, experiencing firsthand how humans combined intellect with physical skill. They disabled more machines, redirected patrols, and created traps using natural terrain. Every human moved like part of a single living organism. As the sun reached its highest point, The alien council revealed its secret weapon, a large, hovering drone, bristling with energy. Its purpose was clear: eliminate anyone who resisted. Lyra's heart raced. She had seen humans adapt to patrols, but this was different. Kale did not hesitate. "We fight together," he said. "Remember what I taught you. Trust in your team, trust in yourself." The humans moved quickly. Some created diversions, drawing the drone's attention. Others, including Kale, targeted weak points in the drone's design. Lyra felt fear, but also courage. She remembered her training, her observations, and the human strategies. She struck when the moment was right, disabling a small energy emitter that controlled part of the drone's system. The drone faltered, and Kale seized the opportunity to deliver a precise strike at its core. The machine exploded in a controlled detonation, sending shockwaves through the canyon but leaving the humans unharmed. Lyra stumbled back, adrenaline coursing through her veins, but a sense of triumph filled her. She had witnessed a miracle. The humans had survived against superior technology and forces. After the battle, Kale gathered the humans, Lyra included, on a high ridge overlooking the canyon. "You have seen today why humans survive," he said. "Not because we are stronger than everyone else, but because we adapt. We plan and we fight together. That is what makes us extraordinary." Lyra looked around at the humans, exhausted but victorious. She realized that strength alone was meaningless without intelligence, strategy, and unity. These humans were legends not because of myths, but because of their actions, their courage, and their wisdom. Later, as the sun set, Lyra sat beside Kale. I don't know if I could ever do what you all do," she admitted. "It's incredible. And terrifying." Kyle smiled faintly. "You are learning. That is the first step. You will make mistakes, you will fail, but each lesson makes you stronger. That is what it means to be human." Lyra thought about her journey so far. From finding the blade to joining Kale in the canyon, she had seen humans in action, trained under their guidance, and witnessed their extraordinary abilities. She realized that her life had changed forever. The canyon grew quiet again, but the memory of the day lingered. Lyra understood that the real world was far more dangerous than the stories she had read, but also far more inspiring. Humans were not just survivors, they were innovators, warriors, and thinkers. They represented the peak of courage and adaptability. Kyle stood and looked toward the horizon. "The council will not stop," he said. "They will return stronger and more prepared. But we will also be ready. Humans survive because we never give up. And now you are beginning to see why." Lyra felt a surge of determination. She had faced fear, uncertainty, and the unknown, and she had survived. She was learning what it truly meant to be part of something greater, to be part of a legacy that had endured for centuries. As the stars appeared in the sky above, Lyra knew that the turning point had come. She was no longer just an observer. She was a participant, a learner, and a part of the human legacy. The challenges ahead would be greater, but so would the rewards. She had begun to understand that humans were not legends because they were invincible. They were legends because they never stopped fighting, never stopped thinking, and never stopped believing in themselves and each other. The night settled over the canyon, calm and quiet, but Lyra's heart was racing with anticipation. She had survived her first real test. She had seen the human's true strength, and she knew, deep down, that the coming days would test her even more. But she was ready. The human warriors had shown her that legends were not just stories. They were living proof of courage, skill, and unity, and Lyra was about to learn that the greatest battles were not only fought with blades, but with mind, heart, and spirit. The hidden canyon was quiet at dawn, but everyone knew the calm would not last. Lyra stood at the edge of the ridge, gripping the training sword she had grown accustomed to. She had trained with Kale and the other humans for weeks, learned their strategies, and faced simulated battles, but now the real test was coming. The alien council had returned stronger than ever. Advanced patrols moved closer, backed by larger walkers and a new hovering weapon, its energy core glowing ominously. The humans had no choice. They had to act, and they had to act together. Kale approached Lyra. "This is it," he said. "Today you will see why humans are legends. But more than that, you will be part of it. Stay focused, trust your instincts, and trust your team." Lyra nodded, her heart pounding. Fear mixed with determination. She had come a long way from the curious scholar who first discovered the human blade. Now she was ready to fight alongside the humans she had admired for so long. The plan was simple but daring. Humans would split into teams, using their knowledge of the terrain and their unique abilities to disable the alien patrols, create diversions, and neutralize the new weapon. Timing and coordination were essential. Kale signaled the teams, "Move." The humans scattered like shadows, disappearing into the canyon's natural cover. Lyra followed Kale, her movements precise, her mind focused. She felt the lessons of weeks of training guiding her, anticipating, observing, and reacting. The first clash was quick. Patrols stumbled into traps the humans had set, mechanical walkers disabled before they could attack. Lyra used her training to disarm one of the patrol units, her heart racing as she realized the impact of her actions. Every move mattered, and she felt the power of teamwork more than ever. Kale moved beside her, his blade flashing with incredible speed. Every strike, every motion was calculated, precise, and deadly. Lyra watched, amazed and inspired. Humans were not just warriors, they were strategists, thinkers, and leaders all at once. The alien council's new hovering weapon descended into the canyon, its energy core glowing brighter with every second. The humans reacted immediately. Some created diversions to lure the weapon away, while Kale and a small team targeted its weak points. Lyra stayed close, ready to act when the moment came. The battle was intense. Energy beams flashed, metal clashed, and dust filled the air. Lyra's hands ached, her muscles burned, but she moved with focus and precision. She realized that survival was not just about strength. It was about courage, quick thinking, and unity. Kale found an opening and signaled Lyra. "Now," he shouted. Lyra leaped forward, striking at a control panel on the hovering weapon. Sparks flew, and the machine wobbled. Kale followed, delivering a precise strike that destabilized the weapon further. The rest of the humans coordinated attacks from multiple directions, using their knowledge of the terrain and the weapon's weaknesses. Finally, with a controlled explosion, the weapon was neutralized. The canyon fell silent, except for the echo of energy dissipating. Lyra stumbled back, breathing heavily, her heart still racing. She looked around at the humans. They were tired but triumphant. They had faced overwhelming odds and survived. Kyle approached her, a faint smile on his face. "You did well," he said. "Not just surviving, but contributing. You understand now what humans can do when we work together." Lyra felt a surge of pride. She had witnessed it, learned it, and participated in it. Humans were no longer myths to her. They were real, extraordinary, and capable of shaping the world. The aftermath of the battle was quiet but filled with reflection. Lyra and Kale walked along the ridge overlooking the canyon. The patrols had retreated, their forces scattered and disorganized. The humans had won, not through raw power alone, but through intelligence, strategy, and unity. "You have changed," Kale said, breaking the silence. "When you first arrived, you were curious and cautious. Now you understand what it means to fight, to survive, and to believe in something greater than yourself." Lyra nodded, her eyes filled with determination. "I understand. Humans. You are legends, but not because of myths. You are legends because of courage, intelligence, and unity. And I want to be part of that. I want to help, to learn, to fight alongside you." Kyle placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then you will. But remember, being a warrior is not just about fighting. It is about protecting, leading, and inspiring others, and that is what you will do." Over the next few days, the humans worked to rebuild and fortify their hidden canyon. Lyra trained harder, learning more advanced techniques, observing strategy meetings, and participating in patrol simulations. She felt herself growing stronger, faster, and more confident. She was no longer a scholar watching legends. She was becoming one herself. The Alien Council, realizing their defeat, sent envoys to the canyon, demanding surrender. But Kale and the humans did not flinch. They had proven their strength, and they would not back down. Lyra watched as the humans negotiated from a position of power, showing intelligence, courage, and dignity. "You see, Kale said to Lyra. Humans survive not because we are invincible. We survive because we do not give up. We fight for what we believe in, and we fight together. That is why we endure, and that is why we are legends. Lyra smiled. She understood now. The stories she had read as a child were not exaggerations. They were glimpses of truth. Humans were extraordinary, and she was witnessing it firsthand. One evening, as the sun set and the canyon glowed with the colors of the sky, Kyle walked with Lyra to the edge of the ridge. There are more humans out there, he said quietly, hidden, waiting, surviving. Our fight is not over. But today you have seen why humans endure. You have seen why we are remembered, and why we continue to shape the world. Lyra looked out over the desert, the horizon stretching endlessly. She felt a sense of awe and possibility. The humans she had once thought were myths were alive, strong, and brilliant. And now, she was part of their story. Kale handed her a small scroll, an ancient record of human history and warriors. This is for you, he said. Learn from it, grow with it, and remember what it means to be human. Lyra took the scroll, feeling the weight of history in her hands. She realized that humans were not just fighters. They were survivors, thinkers, and dreamers. Their legacy was alive, and she had the honor of witnessing it firsthand. As night fell, Lyra sat beneath the stars, reflecting on her journey. She had started as a curious scholar, searching for truth in ancient texts. She had discovered humans were real, trained under Kale, faced danger, and now fought alongside legends. The journey had tested her courage, intelligence, and determination, but it had also shown her the extraordinary potential within herself. The canyon was quiet, but Lyra knew the galaxy was vast, full of challenges and adventures yet to come. She had learned that legends were not only about extraordinary individuals, they were about unity, strategy, courage, and the willingness to face the unknown. And as she looked toward the horizon, she realized something more. Humans were not only legends, they were reality. And she had become part of that reality. Kale stood beside her, looking out into the stars. You have learned much, he said. But remember, the story continues. There are battles ahead, discoveries to make, and legends yet to be forged. And you will help shape them. Lyra smiled, a sense of purpose and pride filling her heart. I will, she said. I will fight, I will learn, and I will help humans show the galaxy what they truly are. The night deepened, stars twinkling above like distant lanterns. Lyra felt hope, courage, and determination. She had seen humans in action, learned their ways, and survived her first real battle. She knew that the future held greater challenges, but she also knew this. Humans were extraordinary, and their story was far from over. Kale drew his blade and raised it toward the horizon. Lyra did the same with her training sword, standing beside him. Together, they faced the vast desert, the endless sky, and the possibilities beyond. The human warriors had proven their power, their resilience, and their unity, and Lyra was part of it now, ready to witness and shape the legends as they became reality. The journey was just beginning, but for the first time, Lyra knew without doubt, humans were not myths. They were alive, they were extraordinary, and they were changing the galaxy forever.